Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Johnny Womack, and this is Robert Morskowski. This is our first ever podcast.
We'll see if this actually makes it online.
Yes.
This might just be for us.
We want to talk about what's important in movies and movies that we like.
Didn't we come up with a name for it?
We did.
Anti-suck.
Anti-suck.
But I guess we stuck with the anti instead of anti.
Anti-suck.
Anti's more forceful. I like it.
Yeah. Forceful. We saw a movie about, 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
Evil Dead remake, or if you want to call it the remake.
We settled on Evil Dead 2013 last night, which it should be distinguishable as just Evil Dead, because the 1981 movie is The Evil Dead.
The Evil Dead.
Which I wonder, like, if there's certain stuff they couldn't talk about in the movie, like they couldn't say Necronomicon, and they couldn't have Ash.
Did think about that.
So I wonder if we can say it.
We can do whatever the hell we want.
But it has to be, we have to make sure we're saying it in reference to the 1981 version.
Good point.
We watched the original 2 weeks ago, and then last night at about...
no, we watched the 2013 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
We watched the original last night, so it's fresh in our minds.
So we thought we were going to do this today, so we brushed up and watched the 1981 film just as a refresher, and boy, did I not remember it.
Same here.
For a film I've owned for that long and seen it that many times,
yeah,
I was surprised how much I did not remember.
Yeah, there was definitely a few things that I wrote down that I was like,
yes,
wow.
we tried to take notes, and Johnny did that. I just had one note because trying not to spoil anything for the 2013 crowd, but I was just very convinced rewatching the 1981 film that I was going to convince myself that it was all one universe, which the filmmakers have left up in the air.
Which would have been really cool if there was.
Yeah.
I would really dig that.
I think in the end, I'm still very convinced it's one universe.
Yeah.
And that's without, again, no spoilers, but the last 3 seconds of the film, the post-credit sequence, is supposed to be just an nod to the fanboys.
A little nugget.
Yeah. Which, before that, which I think is okay to talk about, that 45 seconds leading up to that little bit at the end... You have the professor from the first film talking...
Yes, that was a cool little treat.
Yes.
I really thought that was neat.
So I think that's a little more one university than the post-credit sequence. What's the movie about, Johnny?
I don't know how detailed you want to go with this.
What kind of movie is it?
Is a horror film /
I don't think a lot of people would be surprised by that.
Okay. One thing we all need to clarify that a lot of people have been saying online, and even my wife has said, this is not a zombie movie. Mm-hmm. So all you Walking Dead people out there, this is not a zombie movie.
Yep. Go home.
Yes. Demonology. Demon possession.
Evil Dead, 2013. About a group of friends who go to a cabin, and they're going to get their friend Mia off of heroin once and for all. But the audience has already been introduced to the cabin and the demons through the opening sequence. There's just a girl walking through the woods, and I was under the impression we were seeing the end of the movie at first.
Oh, see, that's what I thought. I thought it was like, all right, well, they're going to start with the end first.
She's just all beaten and bloody and walking through the woods, and, like...
Very hot, by the way, I might add.
We assume at one point we're going through that hillbilly horror movie kind of thing.
Like Hills Have Eyes.
Let's go with the Hills Have Eyes.
The Hills Have Eyes, the original, definitely.
They start, these two hillbillies, we'll call them. I think redneck is considered racist these days.
Yes, redneck is not politically correct. So.
Two of Honey Boo Boo's dads
yes.
start running after her with guns. They catch up to her, and she's like, oh no, what's going on? Help.
She's very frightened and unaware of what's going on.
Next thing you know, she's in a basement tied to the pillar in the middle of the room. And there's a crazy Spanish lady.
Yeah.
Who is looking through the not Necronomicon.
Right, a different book.
Yeah, not the Necronomicon. Certainly not.
Yeah.
And she says that you gotta kill her. And she's talking to the young girl's dad.
Yeah, and at this point, the girl is still freaking out and doesn't understand what's going on. She's just, like, unaware, oblivious.
Or so we think.
Or so we think at the moment. She's oblivious.
Then as soon as she starts getting doused in gasoline, kind of changes her tune a little.
Yeah, I wouldn't like being doused in gasoline either. Especially with gas prices nowadays. You know, I don't know back then, but
then she gets all veiny and has new contacts put in for some reason. And
yeah, her voice changes a bit.
Voice changes.
Yeah, a little pitch shifter there.
Really potty mouthed.
Yeah, she likes to curse. Does a lot of naughty things.
Yeesh. Boy, how
this is an R-rated film. We should clarify.
So then, Dad has to kill his daughter.
Well, first of all, he apologizes.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I'm so sorry.
And we find out that the girl killed her own mom.
Right.
And Dad's trying to do the right thing by setting her on fire and blowing her head off with a shotgun.
Which looked really good, by the way.
Which looked fantastic. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I mean...
Smash cut, black.
Yes.
Then it's the original 1981 movie all over again, word for word, shot for shot. Didn't you know Gus Van Sant made this?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Edgy.
Very edgy.
Yeah. Then it's the Mia and her friends trying to get her off heroin.
That's an interesting... That's something that's very much different than the 1981 version. This has more of a story. You know, based...
Yeah. I kept looking for a lot of direct lifts from the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy I didn't find that many. Starting with that. Like, they are there for their own reasons. Starts off there just traveling through the woods. They've been there in their Jeep. I think some other friends are there. They have another car. Is it like a little station wagon or something?
Yeah, it looked like some sort of...
One of those modern-y station wagons. So people don't have to call them station wagons anymore.
Yeah. That's an old school term now.
And they're already there, and there's the long-haired guy who's the English teacher. With the glasses, of course.
Yeah, very geeky looking.
Looks straight out of the 70s.
Oh, yeah. His clothes...
Is that a thing now? Are people dressed like that again?
Yeah, well, he looks like he's one of those what's that type of music? It's like that bluegrassy kind of folky kind of like, yeah, they listen to that type of music. They're like stuck back in the...
Creed?
Yeah.
Creed.
Yeah.
I was going for like Leonard Skinner too.
Yeah, a little Nickel Creek.
Nickel Creek?
Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah, they're classic.
And you've got...
Mumford and Sons and, all those bands. Yeah.
You've got the character of Natalie, who's the nurse. She's going to help Mia get off heroin. And Mia's brother David is there, who physically, for there not being the character of Ash in the film, he's dressed a little too close to Ash. For me.
Blue. He's wearing blue.
Yeah, and the jeans.
And jeans, yeah.
He's got dark hair.
Short, dark hair.
So you kind of, if you've seen the original, you kind of want to establish him as, oh, that's Ash.
You're trying to equate. It's hard not to equate these characters to the originals, There's not a nurse in the original.
You've also got the blonde, do-nothing girlfriend of David.
Right.
She is there to get killed.
David is, to clarify, David is Mia's brother. So
thank you for clarifying.
Yes, clarification needed.
Olivia is David's do-nothing, there to get killed.
Well, we didn't even know they were boyfriend and girlfriend at first.
Aren't they
did they?
Touchy-feely?
Were they? I couldn't recall that part, but but in the end of the movie, you realize I don't know how close they were because he didn't really have much to do with her. Spoiler, from that point on, it wasn't.
Are you saying that because he cut both her arms off?
That could be the point, but I just didn't really feel a chemistry between the two characters as well. There wasn't. Hey babe, what's going on? At least Ash's character, with his girlfriend, he was very, trying to be hesitant at everything,
We do get a few, plot points that kind of took me by surprise. One of which is David and Mia's mother was crazy. Because they kind of not grew up, but this cabin was like their summer home.
Yeah, no, this is different than the original, where the original... I guess it wasn't a house that they grew up in or for the summer and whatnot. This is their summer home.
Still has pictures of them on the wall.
Yeah, I take it. It's been a while since they've been back there because the house looked like it hasn't been turned on for a few years. Dust on the pictures. Fireplace looked like it hadn't.
Very convincing Photoshop.
Yeah, yeah, it was not bad. Not bad.
Also, turns out. This is not the first time Natalie's tried to get off heroin.
No, she's done this. So these are what three times? This is her third attempt?
I remember one time they were talking about because I remember I don't. It wasn't during her getting off heroin, but they said she did die at one point.
Yes, is it she died and
she was technically dead for however long.
Yeah, and then the nurse. That's why the nurse was very hesitant. And her friend, the nurse, she they thought this. The main reason to bring them out there is that way if they had enough people there to help her. She wouldn't run away and get, get her fix, so to speak. She can go through the withdrawals, which I hear when you're on that withdrawals. It's nuts. It can make you hallucinate. It can make you, vomit. All those side effects, which is what they thought in the beginning is what she was going through.
We start off with English teacher guy, who I believe is Eric.
Eric, yes.
He goes downstairs and...
That's right.
Uh-oh.
That's right.
The not Necronomicon is down there.
Yes.
With a sawed-off shotgun. The same sawed-off shotgun, we're assuming...
In Army of Darkness.
Whoa. Well, I was going to say the dad in the beginning
Oh, true.
blows his daughter's head
True,
off
true.
while she's on fire.
Well, yeah, because that's to clarify that looks like this the same spot. I mean, that has to be. I mean, you imagine that
They go downstairs, and it sure seems like the basement from the opening sequence.
Right, right. So we know that that's related. Now, you want to talk about the animals? When he walks down, he sees that first?
Yeah,
Which was strange, because you and I weren't sure if that was in the original or not.
it seems like, in retrospect, and that's how I viewed a lot of the film, was in retrospect, you can look at things that were just happened to be there in the original, might have been amped up for this 2013 movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, Eric finds the Necronomicon down in spooky basement where there's cats hanging upside down, dead.
Yeah,
course,
really unsettling.
which might be a throw forward from the original where you walk in the tool shed and you see there's some bits of animals hanging, but not quite as disgusting or
dead rats and stuff like that.
So Eric, of course, being the English major that he is, has to read every book he comes across. And what I didn't know is English majors actually have to read their books out loud when they find them.
Yeah, when no one's around.
Even when it says, don't read this book when
right.
you find it, and it's on every page, don't read this book. The next thing you know, Mia decides she's going to step outside for a cigarette. Sees herself.
Yes, that was really...
Abomination Mia.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Bizarro Mia.
And she's like, oh, going inside. That's when the shakes really come on from her detox.
Right.
And she's like, I want out of here, I want out of here, I want out of here. And
she's asking her brother to go ahead and just take off, get the keys and take off. So she actually does take the keys.
Yes. We don't see how, but somehow she gets the keys. And
yep.
Next thing you know, vroom,
yep.
Going through the woods in the rain.
It starts to rain, yeah. All of a sudden it starts to rain, which is,
Then what happens?
And then she sees a figure out in the road.
Abomination Mia.
Bizarro Mia.
Bizarro Mia.
And she swerves to hit, and she falls into some sort of...
little creek.
Creek, yeah.
And gets out for some reason instead of waiting for her friends.
Now, one thing I thought I would note here at this point, the music at this point in the film is a throwback to the original music that was played. I picked up on it last night. We were watching the 1981. It's kind of neat that they threw some music cues. So any of you film score buffs out there would appreciate that.
I think there's a lot of little things like that were really thought about.
Yeah.
And it's not just, demons and 5 kids and tree rape.
Yeah.
Speaking of tree rape.
So at that point, she's got probably about 3 feet of water in her car, and she's waking up from her head from the steering wheel, and she has her bag, which she carries, and all of a sudden she's really worried about her bag, and then she just says screw it when she starts to feel scared. So she just leaves her bag into the water, and then she tries to open up the door.
And she doesn't go to the bank of the creek where the car came in. She decides to cross the creek for some reason.
Yeah.
And the trees take her, pick her up, and tree rape.
Well, it's very equated, back to the very similar to the original.
Similar.
But
I think, again,
we watched
it wasn't meant to be like a remake of the original scene.
Well, and also let's clarify, this was not... The scene in the original was a lot more NC-17, a little more graphic.
A lot quicker, a lot more shocky.
Yeah, and nudity as well. And there was nudity in the original, not in the remake. Which
she's on the CW. I don't think she's allowed to do.
Yeah, One Tree Hill, watch out! No pun intended. The trees. Anyway, so she gets wood, and she runs off.
And then she goes crazy, so weird.
Yeah, she freaks out. She runs through the door, and
they all think she's
just having a bad detox.
Yep.
Hallucinations are a common thing with detox withdrawals. You get the shakes, you sweats, hallucination.
Now here's the point where we can start talking about both films,
right?
Because we can start talking about the not Necronomicon and the Necronomicon from the original.
Yes.
What they're trying to tell us in this one is that the 2013 one is that the not Necronomicon needs like sacrifices
Right.
to bring upon, let's just say, Satan.
Bring on the evil.
Yeah, the evil one.
The evil.
But there's like a harbinger first
Yes.
that comes after
It's a good word.
these
Harbinger.
5. Is that how you say it? Harbinger.
I think it's Harbinger.
I think when that comic book was out of the same name, I think I was calling it Harbinger, but I was like 12.
It's true.
So let's go.
But I
with
think Harbinger's
Yeah.
fine. You are the Harbinger, Carathrace. Sorry, Battlestar Galactica reference.
So what the book wants is someone's got to burn themselves with hot water, with boiling water. Someone's got to cut an appendage off. Someone's got to get dismembered. Someone's got to cut their face off. Someone's got to get dismembered, and someone has to be burned alive. Did I miss one? So anyway, spoiler alert, those things happen. And then that releases the Harbinger that our hero has to fight. But I don't think we're going to tell you who our hero is,
No, we will not.
because I think that'd be a big spoiler. Because that was surprising for me when it turned out who the real hero was in the movie.
Yeah, very, very surprising.
Because you know who it's not? Do Nothing David, the brother.
Yeah, who's nothing like Ash except for his
Nothing like
clothes.
us. Yeah, I know.
I don't know. He tries to be like the hero, but
But I think they set it up like, okay, now where he's gonna save the day, and no.
does not happen.
But luckily, the guy who brought all this on, who'd read the book when it said don't read the book, he gets killed. I think it's okay to say that.
First of all, the book in the 2013 the Book of the Dead looked fantastic.
The not Necronomicon.
Yeah, looked fantastic. It looked like real human flesh, not plasticky, leathery like the. Obviously, technology's changed at this time, but I think it looked really good. The flesh, the drawings are a little bit more sadistic looking, all blood and whatnot. And then there's that scene from the trailer where he's like, things have not gone right or whatever. He's just like, of course, everything that we've done from this point on is nothing is getting
And
better.
he started it.
Exactly.
Like, he's getting on everyone else's case, but he started
and
it.
I have to admit, overall, the acting was pretty fine by
Yeah,
these.
I just didn't like David. David and Livia just
Yeah.
were really flat for me.
Well, Olivia was it. Well, we'll get into that later, but she didn't really have much of a
She's there to get killed.
right. And that's one thing, me being a seasoned horror / thriller / slasher,
Which I am not.
which Robert is not actually. There's that moment where a lot of you listeners and what we go into movies about. Some of us out there, like myself, like to go in and see the kills if there's any inventive kills and appreciate the gore and the blood and all that stuff. Which the kills in here were very interesting. They're much different than the 81 version. So
There is a lot of shock value stuff, which is cool in this one.
yeah.
Which I'm sure in the original for 1981, I'm sure the original had a lot of shock value too. Not just the tree rape. I'm not a big fan of horror movies in general. I think they have to be a little more grounded for me. Like, things can be spooky, and I like those. They can be scary without needing axes or blades for fingers or machetes. Yeah, I never really liked.
Well, let me throw you out some movies, and you tell me what.
No, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Like, I've never seen the original series of Halloween. However,
to give you a timeline, Robert, you were born in
1979.
79. I was born in 82, so that way you kind of know where our generation gap. If you are in a different generation gap, you kind of know where we fall.
I think I'm probably in the minority with my generation. I think a lot of people probably do go see. I think it's paranormal scary movies I just don't care for. And it's not about being spooked by them, because we went and saw Evil Dead 2013 with two friends of ours. And you and I sat there kind of, not stone-faced because we were really enjoying it, but never did I really feel spooked or scared.
We weren't jumped. We were like, oh my gosh,
But boy, did our friends...
But I would say most of the audience was that way.
Yeah,
I think the majority of the audience was screaming, and they were jumping, and they were on the edge of their seats.
Very interested audience. Because I think I like Evil Dead mostly because when I saw it when I was in film school. Mm-hmm. That's what really helped, because of course we talked about how Sam Raimi did it for nothing. Like, not El Mariachi,
which is the opposite of the Spider-Man movies. He did that for plenty of money.
Yes, they just threw money at him.
The money.
Which, watching the original last night.
Yes, so we watched the original last night.
Remember, I don't like horror.
Yes. On Netflix out there, by the way. Netflix rules, by the way.
But not Evil Dead 2.
Not
no
Evil Dead
2 on Netflix.
Yeah, no, I think they're just...
What's with that?
I think they're just cashing in on the Evil Dead movie being out, but I imagine the second Evil Dead will be out in
So,
Army of Darkness. But,
Johnny got us notepads.
yeah.
And because I'm so diligent, I wrote one note on mine. And it just had one universe with a question mark.
Yes.
Because that was my only my only mission statement was to prove to myself that both movies exist in the same universe.
Right.
Now, there's a little spoilery stuff. The Delta 88 from the original series, and it's in all of Sam Raimi's films,
Right.
is in Evil Dead 2013.
Well, even Drag Me to Hell had the
Oh, yeah.
There was even a Drag Me, which is
Yep,
another.
It's in all his movies.
Yeah.
I hear, no joke, I hear was dressed as a stagecoach in a deleted scene of Quick and the Dead.
Yeah.
But that would be pretty
We'll have
fantastic.
to Wikipedia that. So I guess we'll go through some notes that I had about the 1981.
Yes.
Because what Robert said earlier, there was not much of a budget, and I don't know if we can Box Office Mojo the original budget.
Well, I know the original was $90,000. I just read
The
that.
budget was
on
$90,000.
the original.
I mean,
It made $2.4 million on its original theatrical run
which is really decent for
a $90,000
for a
film.
$90,000 film. But my thing was the $90,000. What they did, I think a lot of it was location. It was special effects. Salaries probably weren't much. Back then. No one knew who Bruce Campbell
I
was,
think
right?
these people were paid like in craft service.
Yeah, yeah. I don't.
That's another thing I liked is we started watching the original and everybody is committed. Everybody's
Yes.
on board.
Yeah,
Like everybody seemed to know what they were doing, even for such a small production.
yeah.
I had a lot more faith in the actors in the originals than I did in the remake.
I think what's great about the original, and I'll go over some of my notes here, was just how simplistic stuff that you don't need to spend money and have tons of CG, which was really prevalent much back then. Scotty goes through and he's grabbing the keys on top of the doorway or whatever. Very old style keys. You see the key ring looks very like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, if you just do your math, like if the movie was filmed in '78,
Right. It was 78. That's something important.
and
to
it's
note.
already like an old cabin at that point, so
Right.
you can assume it was built in the 40s or 50s.
But there's a scene where he's grabbing the keys, and the porch swing next to it, to the right of him, keeps swinging back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Dong.
Very rhythmic.
Dong.
Very rhythmic syncopation there. And then as soon as he grabs the keys, it stops. Like this small, simple, subtle things like that clever that didn't cost any money to do.
It's like things that are just spooky enough
Right.
without overdoing it. They're just like, oh,
Yeah.
creepy.
So there's a scene where Shelley is in a bathroom, right? She's in the bathroom, I think, or
I think she's just in like a sitting room.
sitting room.
Like-
And so she's sitting there and she's just sketching a clock that she sees, an old clock, like a miniature father clock or whatever, grandfather clock. And all of a sudden it's going back and forth, the little thing on the bottom, and then all of a sudden it stops.
Oh.
Yep. So it stops. And
She gets all possessed handy.
yeah, well, something I never noticed until we watched it last night for me, and when Robert and I
He had to point this out for me.
Yeah. Her hand, because she's moving frantically, so you're not really paying
She's
attention.
sketching, and then all of a sudden she goes like her hand goes bonkers, starts sketching.
Her hand's like crazy. So, anyways, her hand is she's sketching really fast.
We just edited out a whole bunch of hand job jokes.
We sure did. So her hand's going crazy, and this is a pencil back in not pen or anything. She got a pencil and she's on the pad, and her hand's all like green and veiny and,
Yes.
and really scaly.
It's like
looking.
only her hand started becoming possessed by a Kandarian demon.
Right, which is crazy. And she starts drawing,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't know what she's drawing at first.
It looks like a book
Yeah,
with a face on it.
yeah, very strange. I don't know where that's gonna,
Now, I want to point something out here. We have the Necronomicon in the original, which, by the way, you can't have any kind of realistic look at continuity between the original movies. I see. Of course, I'm looking at the one universe thing.
Right.
I'm trying to take every scene. How could this be related to the original?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they have the not Necronomicon in the 2013 film.
Right.
I kept thinking, what if the demons are the one possessing people just to keep making this book?
Interesting.
So they just possess somebody and then they make another hand, and they get possessed, and then they make another book, and that's the next book.
Huh. Because the book is different.
Because it never looks the same. But again, trying to put continuity between the movies to begin with is kind of a fool's errand.
Right.
I probably pushed too far trying to think of it as one universe. Because then we get to... And that was another thing I was thinking of, because in the 2013 film, there's the 5 things that have to happen to somebody to unleash the Harbinger.
Right.
And I kept thinking, like, well, over the course of the original trilogy, did we get all those things happen to somebody?
Right.
Which I don't think we did. But then again, we never saw the Harbinger in the original trilogy.
No, we did not.
So maybe we only got
well,
a few
it's one
of
thing
these
we
things.
also need to talk that's different than the major different that I didn't write down, but I wrote down in my head, I guess, mental note, was it seems like the demons were coming by the numbers in the original.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were just coming after everybody.
And
as opposed to
and it's not about killing them. It's about making them suffer. And then they get killed.
Right. Well, that's another
It's
thing.
not, they don't try to kill people right off the bat.
Right, and I think it's strange because, like, in the 2013, it's almost as if they were transferring their essence from body to body, as opposed.
It seemed like it was one
right
demon,
right, as opposed to the original where it was multiple. It seemed like multiple demons coming out of the woods. That bird's eye view coming down and hitting everybody.
Well, I think in the 2013 one, they say to get rid of the demon, you have to chop it up. You have to chop the body up of that
and
person
bury
possessed.
it, right?
Did they say bury it?
Well,
I
or
thought
just,
it was
just
or.
bury it,
Yeah.
or bury it, or bury it alive.
Which
Buried
in the
alive.
originals we see people
Pieces-
possessed that get torn apart.
Once they were dead, they seemed not to be possessed. Do you remember that correctly? You remember this? Do you kind of feel the same way? Once they were dead, like the blonde chick never came back after
Correct.
she died.
But Eric did.
But maybe he didn't actually die. He just fell into the water. That's a little question mark.
And he
there.
comes back when David sets the house on fire. Spoiler.
Right.
He's there in the room.
Right. I think the 2013. If you're dead, the bodies don't. They need to have some
I think
sort of
they
life
can,
source.
but they don't necessarily.
Well, I think what the beauty of the original, the 1981, is that
They as soon as they die or they're possessed, they stay possessed.
right. Which and I think the 2013 didn't do as good of a job. If I'm going to do some negativity about tricking the people, as well as the 1981. I love the 1981 demons are more clever about changing the voices, trying to look like the original, and just trying to mess with you. More tricks and more fun. They were getting off on it more, than the 2013.
Yeah, there's a lot more energy to the original, the 1981 film. It's not the 2013 one isn't fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think there's some great kills. I think that's how you horror people put it.
Yeah, kills.
I had a lot of fun watching it, but I think it lacks there's just a spark that's missing. And I don't want to put the movie down too much because I had a great time watching it.
Well, let's also talk about the time length of both movies. The original 1981 was 82 minutes, which is very hard to get a full-length theatrical release for that short period of time.
And we walked out of the 2013 one, which we knew was 90 minutes walking in.
90 minutes, yeah. Roughly 90
And we were
minutes.
both surprised that it ended up actually being 90 minutes. Because
Well,
there's a lot of stuff going on.
Right, and I think that's the beauty of a movie that's only 90 minutes, 80 minutes, is that you don't have time for a lot of exposition. You don't have time for a lot of down times.
All the better.
Yeah, it's just instantaneous, nonstop from the point you get to the cabin. And I also think it's interesting. Not that we have to talk about it in the movie, but if you talk about Joss Whedon's and Drew Goddard's Cabin in the Woods, which is fantastic, which we'll probably talk about at another later date and time. But they go over stuff that that happens in obviously from the original and then the 2013 as well.
Do you think there was, with the characters in Evil Dead 2013, do you think there was a departure from the stereotypical cliches of characters we see in quote-unquote Cabin in the Wood movies?
Well,
do you think that happened because of Cabin in the Woods?
Well,
No jock, no slut.
You make a good point.
We have the whore, the athlete, the scholar, the fool, and the virgin.
Good one. The Fool is in a lot of slasher horror films. The Fool is the one that
Which I think would cover my nerd when I just...
Right, yeah. I think The Fool is a big one because that's the one that...
The wild card.
The wild card that doesn't die all the time right away, which is really strange because they do stupid stuff. They're the ones that almost get killed in the beginning
let's
of
just
movies.
stop talking about Evil Dead and let's just tell people to go see Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah. Cabin in the Woods is fantastic if you haven't
Cabin in
seen
the Woods is enough like surprise, which is all I really care about.
it. I don't even want to spoil. I mean, I want...
I've gotten to the point where I've seen so many movies, and I've been out of film school for so long that I feel like I've seen it all sometimes. So all I really care about is being surprised.
Yeah, in the trailer, you don't really... You see snippets of
You see what they
strangeness.
want you to see. You don't see the whole movie. They don't give away anything, really.
Cabin in the Woods is fantastic, but it does play off the whole... It's almost like a satire of Evil Dead and all these other films because...
Do you know what we haven't talked about?
What?
Ash.
Ash.
Who's Ash?
Bruce Campbell.
Well, who's Ash the character?
Oh, you mean what stereotype? What?
No, I mean, who is Ash? Like, we've completely skipped over Ash.
Okay. Well, Ash is... Is he 6'2", 6'1"?
I don't know.
195 pounds. in the film.
Played by the lovable Bruce
Campbell. Awesome guy. He's very stunning, very charming.
And knows his craft.
He knows his craft. Charms the ladies. Men want to be like him. Nice cleft chin, dark hair. Very charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
He comes across in the beginning as sort of...
It's almost random that he's the guy that makes it in
Right.
the original.
Right. There's a few things that happened in the original that, he missed getting hit by
The
stuff.
reason we love Ash doesn't really come in the 1981 film. It comes
It's
more
true.
from Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
It's true. That's a good point.
Open parentheses, Medieval Dead, close parentheses.
Right. But I think what's great about Evil Dead is it can be treated as a standalone film. Like if Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness, that mythos...
I don't think they ever had the idea to do a sequel
No.
when they made it.
Uh-uh.
I mean, the Necronomicon gets destroyed in the first one.
Right. But I think as a standalone film, that's how you got to compare. You got to compare the films here.
How is that different than Evil Dead 2013?
Well, Evil Dead 2013 has a deeper story. The production value is obviously much different.
But it comes at the audience as a Cabin in the Woods cliche.
Well, even the
but
music.
it's played hardcore
Well, it's more realistic too, I think,
and just vicious.
never ending. It's relentless,
Yeah. Once you get going, it's a nice little roller
And
coaster.
I just blown away by the use of prosthetics and the use of little CG you use in the film. I think it's the same thing with Raimi. I mean, they didn't have the technology really to do green screen. I mean, they did, but it wasn't.
That's what
really,
I love. Like everything is practical. Like and nothing's really.
It's organic.
Yeah. When you see the demons, it's all makeup or puppets. And when I said earlier about the cast, is everyone's committed.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone is.
There's a scene. There's a scene. Okay, when you say committed, there's that scene where the blonde chick, Olivia, is that her name?
In
the 2013.
Yes.
She goes down because she sees Mia saying "help me" and all this stuff,
and is gullible and
gullible. Like she goes
proving
down.
she's there to get killed.
Right, and she goes down there, and all of a sudden she's all like, she starts cursing and calling her a whore and slut and all that. And
Mia.
Yeah, Mia. Yeah.
Mia calls Olivia.
Olivia, sorry. And then all of a sudden she she stabs her tongue, right, or cuts her.
Mia cuts her own tongue.
Cuts her own
two.
tongue. Yeah.
Very
like
hot.
A snake tongue, like a snake-like tongue,
Yes.
serpent.
Very hot.
Yeah.
And just to one up themselves on the hotness, starts making out with Olivia.
Making out. Oh yeah, just hot and heavy. She's
bloody, gushy.
I think she said that she equated it,
lesbionic.
Lesbionic is a great word.
Making out.
Yeah, and she's like, you whore, you want this, you slut, and then she just starts making out, and then shouldn't she spew like blackness all over her as well? I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's just blood in that scene because earlier, when Mia started getting turned, she puked blood all over Natalie.
Right, that's true.
Which I love that too. With all the practical stuff there, because it wasn't just like blood; it actually was what like Mia had been eating during the day.
Oh, true,
like,
yeah.
Because Natalie had all this stuff stuck in her hair, and just like that's where I was like pointing the screen, like, oh,
that's clever.
Yeah.
So that was clever. Let's talk more about Natalie now. She
almost pointless.
Yeah,
like she's set up okay, but she's only ever annoyed in the film.
She's always annoyed.
Yeah.
She's annoyed at why she's there. She's annoyed at...
I actually thought she was going to make it a little longer.
Well, it's funny.
Because the dissenter is usually the one that makes it a little further.
Well,
and I always point to Edward Burns in Saving Private Ryan. The one who's like complaining the most is actually the one that makes it out. Spoiler. True. I think she's the first one to full on die.
She's the first one that dies.
And she dies when they're all still wondering what's going on.
Right, so...
Like maybe they're all just having like a mass delusion.
This is after Mia came back, right? And before she gets into the shower, right? Right, isn't it? Or she get in the shower and she's all burned,
I
and then they
believe
tell
the
her to go
burning,
lay down.
Yeah, the burning happens first because when they bring her into the
After she gets out raped by the
that's
woods,
when
she
does that awesome scream,
yeah.
and the windows shatter, the door flies up, and they have that beautiful callback to the
One by one we will take you.
It's the exact dialogue from the original 1981 version, which I just thought that's probably one of my favorite moments of the film.
Yeah. So back to Natalie. So she's always annoyed. She also now they make reference a few times about how
After she gets puked on.
Right, after she gets peeked on, because that's how they transfer the essence from her.
It's one of the ways.
One of the ways. But I also wonder, David, because Natalie makes reference like 3 or 4 times at how David hasn't been in the picture for a while, and how they used to all be friends, and you see pictures of them growing up in the cabin.
One universe, maybe?
Yeah. And all of a sudden, David's back in the picture, and it's really strange, and Natalie keeps complaining about that. And
because he wasn't around for the last time they tried to do this.
Right. And that was something, and also the scene where...
nor was he around for the final days of his own mother's life,
death,
while she was in an insane asylum.
David's mother hallucinated and thought Mia was David, and Mia was such a good sister that she let it go on, you know.
That's another thing I had to point out for myself was the possible one universe thing. This family had used this cabin in the past, so I was curious. You know, let any sequel writers out there take note. I was wondering if Mia and David's mother had been driven crazy by the cabin.
Good point.
But again, I'm obsessed with it being one universe.
Yeah. So Natalie, she's going to do something. She's in the bathroom.
I think she's just getting the pukiness off.
Right, and then Eric comes in.
Yes,
and sees her.
I think that's when
she's in the shower.
I think he's actually been reading the book some more because it worked out so well the first time.
Yeah, he's continuing on.
And he sees that someone has to cut their own face off to bring on the Harbinger.
Well, there's this great shot where Eric comes in, and all of a sudden she turns around, and she reminds me of the Joker from Dark Knight, and she's got like, you know, and she's got that wicked smile, and looks at her, and he's just freaking out.
Slips on a piece of her face.
Yes.
And hurts his back.
Yeah.
It's kind of like classic Evil Dead, the crawling at him, and then he bashes her head to squishiness with like a piece of the sink, I think.
Yes.
Which is great. And that's where they're finally like, pardon my language, in the shit. They all have hope until that moment.
Yeah.
Like Mia burning herself in the shower, could happen to anybody. Girl maybe cutting her face open because of a mass delusion, okay. But when she gets her head bashed into nothing, that's when it's real.
Yeah.
That's when there's point of no return.
Yeah, I thought Eric did a really good job. The guy who played Eric.
He's actually okay. I didn't think the character was so smart.
No, I'm talking about his reaction to the whole situation was great. Because like he's just... Because we forgot to mention, she stabs him in the eye with... I forgot about that. And now that...
But how much do we really want to give away?
I don't know. I think we should just say bits and pieces. Something happens to his eye. That's all I'm going to say. And it really...
Hurts.
It hurts. And
it hurts the audience.
It hurts the audience. The audience is going...
Because it's something I had never seen. And it's apparently like... Especially stuff with eyeballs.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay, I've seen Hostel. When he's like digging out that girl's eye.
Gosh.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. We won't. Obviously, we're not going to give away every little detail and nuance, but it's just from that point on, everything is just—it's a ride from that point on.
A fun ride.
A fun ride, yeah. Let's
go over to Olivia. Gets possessed because she makes out with Mia
in
that hot scene.
Yeah,
and her hand, she gets bit by Mia while she's in the basement. Her hand starts going, and it seems like it's an homage to Evil Dead 2. But if you look at it from a one universe point of view, what happens in Evil Dead 2 is Ash gets his hand possessed.
Yeah.
And he cuts it off because he can't control it anymore. And the same thing happens to Olivia, and Mia's down there in the basement egging her on not to cut her hand off. So Olivia thinks she has to do the opposite, but clever demon Mia is using reverse psychology, and Olivia ends up chopping her own arm off because she can't control it anymore because it's demon-possessed. But what I'm thinking is, you do the one universe thing, what if Ash was actually cutting off his hand was part of the ritual that we never heard about in the original films, but now we're seeing it's a little after-the-fact twist.
That's pretty interesting.
I feel like it's J.J. Abrams writing this thing.
And if you don't know, J.J. Abrams is directing
Willy Wonka 2.
Yes.
It's a sequel to the original.
Yeah.
And they're
the
going
Gene Wilder.
They're going to CG his face on his younger version body. It'll be played by Andy Serkis. And again, like original cast, like they're having the original Charlie come back.
Yeah.
They're going to shrink him down, just like Captain America.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty...
It's going to be great.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be great.
So, was it the release date 2014? Right?
I think so, yep.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So,
in the original, the 1981 film, Ash is the only character who lives to the end.
True.
After getting the hell beaten and scraped out of him and
right.
punched out of him.
That's true.
He's had to dismember all of his friend's body at some point.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Only to make it to the end where there's still a little something out there.
There is.
And it comes for him.
Yes.
Cut to black. But that's where I feel like somewhere someone has made a supercut of these movies.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because if you can just re-edit the ending, and I've thought about this, because I thought about this in film school when I saw these, which is too long ago for me to remember it with such...
So 2001?
Yeah, 2001, 2002.
Yeah.
So you just have to cut out the Necronomicon getting destroyed. Because they're waiting for when it's just Scotty and Ash. They're just waiting for sunrise. They're like, it's going to be okay if it's sunrise. So you just cut out the part where the Necronomicon gets destroyed, and you just cut to the sun coming up. That's when the demons stop.
Right.
And then he comes out, walks out, everything gets everything melts away with this awesome Play-Doh special effects.
It kind of equates back to, for me, Indiana Jones when they're looking at the Ark.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of that same look to it.
But I really dig it.
Yeah.
Like even today, we're watching it. Like I liked that even when one of them was falling, the lighting's changing on them, but they're still like decaying.
Yeah,
a lot of effort went into that.
And also, I like the idea of like the stop motion effects too.
It's almost. I was going to use this word earlier and I stopped. It's almost pretty like sweet. Like how much effort they put into this. Like it's so endearing.
Right.
Like it shouldn't be the movie that it is, but because they put so much effort.
You know what
into
they
it,
missed? You know what was missing from the 1981 Evil Dead that they should have put in? It was Ash doing an emo dance. That would have been great. Anyways, speeding it up.
Well, you get to it's not even a cliffhanger, and when you see the 1981 version, it just kind of like cuts to black, and you assume like Ash just gets taken out by this demon out there.
Yeah.
What I was saying about the supercut is you can just like you take Ash getting attacked, and Evil Dead 2 starts with like a kind of revamped version of the first movie within like the first 10 minutes.
Right.
And then it's just like 80 minutes of Ash by himself fighting demons for the rest of the Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
Which then you see at the end, there's a little alternate. At the end of Evil Dead 2, you just cut that out and cut directly into Army of Darkness where he comes through the portal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like it can be like 1 3-hour plus movie.
You know, it's funny. They throw you. I almost forgot that him having a chainsaw arm, hand, or whatever you want to call it. It was not in the original. And for some reason, when I was picking up, I was thinking, all right, this is the part where his arm gets cut off. But I was forgetting.
I forgot. I thought there was a dismemberment scene.
So did I. I thought there was
in
too.
the original. In 1981 version. So I was kind of surprised, like, he doesn't even use the chainsaw.
Not at all, yeah.
He uses the gun.
Right.
Which is not sawed-off double-barrel shotgun.
Right.
That he will later be known.
Yeah.
Be infamous for.
Yeah.
He's not quite the Ash we know from the other movies yet.
Yeah.
But he kind of, like, gets beaten into that. Like,
right.
We love Ash for that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he's kind of he's such a survivor.
Yeah.
Where you wouldn't think, like, in the first movie, he just kind of happenstance that he survives. Both movies are about people find a book, read from it for some reason.
Well, one isn't read from.
Oh, that's
the first
true.
one isn't read from.
Which is such a better idea.
I think it better that
because
you stumble upon
this professor found the book first and was taking
notes,
audio
notes, yeah, like
on a tape recorder,
the Panasonic.
And so we
tape
only
recorder.
hear it in the 1981 version being played back on that tape recorder after they find it.
Right. So they actually never utter anything.
So they're a
from
little
the book.
smarter than
Yes.
the ones in the 2013 version.
Yeah. Which I think is really creepy. It was unsettling. The hearing the voice, and hear that he could tell the doctor is really, he makes references to his wife and hence
Henrietta. Well, we don't know that.
Yes, we don't know, but it's very unsettling, very uneasy feeling when you're hearing that story, and then all of a sudden all these things start happening, and it's beyond their control. But you almost don't give any remorse for the Eric kid in the 2013 because I mean he's the one that deliberately you got freaking barbed wire wrapped around the book. I mean that's a sign that says, hey, don't touch this. You know,
That was another thing too, is as far as like you can't try and create continuity without some creative thinking. So Eric tries to burn the book.
Yes,
which does not work.
right.
Can't. But that's exactly how the book is destroyed in the 1981 version.
Yes, so that's a major difference.
But I think that plays again into the Kandarians are the ones making people write the books.
Right.
Because I can't wrap my hand around. Because I know there's something that contradicts that in Army of Darkness, but I can't quite put my finger on it right now. But what I want to talk about as we wrap up, where do they go from here? Because we know they actually announced that Ivan Raimi and Sam Raimi are working on Army of Darkness 2.
Mm-hmm.
2-star Bruce Campbell.
Groovy.
What's that?
A really bad Bruce Campbell.
Oh, okay.
Groovy.
I would have never guessed.
Or a Earthworm Jim. You video gamers out there. Earthworm Jim says groovy as well.
Yeah, still nothing.
So
I think we can't really say the hero of the 2013 one. What I thought about for the next movie is you see the Necronomicon survived in the 2013 version, while the cabin, sadly, does not.
True. Good point. That is a major difference between the.
So the book lives on.
Book lives on.
So what I figure is like someone's going to find the Necronomicon. There have been some statements that they're going to merge the series. So I think, what if Ash came looking for the book
That would be interesting.
after taking 20 years off from fighting Kandarian demons, and he's got a little partner now?
Which will rename nameless
Yes.
at this point. But without
I think
naming,
like that's my favorite spoiler about the film. Like what we're not talking about.
right. Do you think that the person who survives at the end actually does survive?
Yes.
As they walk out, they actually do not. You think they still make it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think a sequel will pick up right there. I think that character needs medical attention. I don't think they'll do the same thing where they did in Halloween, where like the Kandarians just follow them to the hospital. Well, you remember there was going to be a Jason versus Freddy versus Ash film.
Yes, that would have been.
Where I read half the comic books that came out about that, which were based on the script I hear for that proposed movie that Sam Raimi shot down. And it had Ash showing up to Crystal Lake, and here he's opening a new S-Mart, and he hears about the Necronomicon that is supposedly used in the Friday the 13th series.
Yes.
Okay.
That is
Again,
that
haven't
is
seen
correct.
them. I'm just
That is
going to hear.
correct. Yes.
So that'd be kind of a good way to bring Ash back into the fold if they were adding him to this series, the modern series Evil Dead. Or I just see like there could be an entire sequel built around that opening sequence of the 2013 version.
Right.
Because where did all those people go?
Right.
You see about 6 characters you never see again in the movie that actually have a big clue as to what's going on here. Not only what's going on, but how to control it.
Right. One final tidbit. Even though you won't be hearing the full version of this podcast as we're editing and making cuts. The original uncut version of this podcast is actually 84 minutes, which is almost as long as an Evil Dead film, which is
Oh my god,
that's kind of interesting.
creepy.
Very creepy. Join us. Okay. Anyways, this is pretty much our thoughts and takes on the original Evil Dead and the 2013 Evil Dead.
Well, okay, I guess.
We're not sure if we want to do full-on spoilers from now on, or if we're just going to give snippets.
I think
of
we'll
the
kind of keep it like
synopsis.
this. Like we'll set up everything,
Yeah.
and then we'll kind of keep the ending vague.
Yeah. And obviously this is going to involve this podcast, but this is Anti-Suck, and this is essentially our thoughts on the Evil
Why don't we
Dead.
talk about Anti-Suck?
Yes.
Because we need a name, of course, and we want to be a little more positive because we have a lot of podcasts and videocasts that focus on the negatives of movies.
Right.
And I thought, we're going to talk about stuff we like.
Yep. Let's be positive.
We're going to be the opposite of suck. We're going to be the anti-suck.
Anti-Suck. We know it's good.
Trust
us. All right,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for all 3 of you for listening.
Yes.
Hi, Brandon, TJ,
Yes.
maybe Eric.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Until next time, guys.